Hi, so I'm gonna go over chapter 3 with the first is like select for talent, and this is the name of the chapter. And I actually really like this chapter because it really focuses on like your talents, and you're like born with talents rather than like your experience and like what you gain from jobs. And so the first chapter was like how great managers define it, and it's like essentially just like reoccurring and often and things that come natural to you and bring you happiness. And I really liked the happiness part because there's a lot of things that I do that I'm like like I don't really like find joy in this, but like I do this because like I know I'm supposed to do it. But then like you look at your talents and you're like, oh, okay, like this is like what they do because it brings them joy, and that's just like a born with talent that you just end up doing because like that's how you were, that's how like just how you're born. And so I really liked that it was like that, and essentially like just like you're born with talent is like what they like define it as. And it's like something like I said, like reoccurring and just like that just like needs to be done kind of in a company or like an organization, but like you can't ever like teach essentially. And so I think that like it then in the second part oh gosh, it's called like the right stuff, and it essentially goes through and it's like you can teach valuable lessons but you can't teach the talents like I had mentioned. And like essentially experience like is like makes or breaks your like pretty much career. So essentially like you can work at an amazing job but your experience or like the people you work with like aren't good, and so they essentially can like make or break the job for you, which is like essentially why I stayed at McDonald's was so long, is because I really liked the people I worked with and I really liked where I was with the company. And like I was an overnight manager, and like my position was like not the best, but the way I was like with people that like really worked well together, and I like really enjoyed the people I worked with all the time. I think that was a really strong suit for like my company, and it really made like a difference in like the work environment. And essentially like if my friend got mad during that time, like I knew exactly what he needed in that moment, and like, hey, like take a breath, take a breather. And I think that like just our relationship working together, it was like perfect, and that he knew exactly what I needed, and I knew exactly what he needed. And so like through that it was like super good. And so like they didn't obviously select us for the talent, but like our talents then ended up like combining so perfectly that it was like perfect together. So essentially like you can't teach that, but it's like you're born with it, and it's like I essentially like you click with people and it just like works. And so that was super cool. And then just like through that chapter they give examples, and like it's saying like you're filtered like is just like always you, and it's like the things you like have to feel and have to think, and it's like you like that's who I was born as. Like it's not something you can teach. And I just think that it's really cool that they like really emphasize on you as a person rather than like what you're taught, because I think a lot of times like people are like, oh well, I can teach you how to do this and I can teach you how to do this, but like why not work and like use what you've like fully like have and are capable of and like we're born with. And so I just think that was really cool. The next one was like the decade of the brain, and so like how the great managers don't share this perspective, but their mantra is like people don't change that much, don't try to waste your time putting in what was left out, and then try to draw what was left in, and then that's hard enough. I think essentially it's like through this it was like hard to see because I was like I didn't really get it, and so I was like, what do you mean like people don't change that much and like you're wasting time into trying to like change people? And then I like really thought on this for a second. I was like, oh, what? And then I wrote in this and I was like, essentially they're saying like you can't change the people that you like hire. Like if you're like, oh well, I really like say the look of this person, I'll just change them to do this. I'm like, that's not how the world works, and like you're you for a reason. And so I thought about like my past relationship, and I was like, oh, I went into this relationship being like, oh, I could really change this person. Like he like kind of goes to church, maybe I can really make him like love Jesus. And like yes, I essentially could, but like he wasn't at that place and he didn't have like the mental ability to. And so I think just like using it as an example is like going into a relationship trying to change the person. Like why would you go into a relationship trying to make it like a project? Like I think that essentially like you're trying to find the perfect person for a perfect job. I think it's essentially like you're trying to find a perfect person for a perfect you. Like put yourself in that situation. I really like when that happened, I like clicked and I was like, okay, I get this now. And so I think then like that really like stood out to me. And then like skills, knowledge, and talents, and like what's the difference between them. Like you can help your friends discover like their hidden talents by like what they do. And essentially, if they, like I said in the beginning, like it's repetitive and it's often, and it's like something you enjoy and something you like happy. And so that's essentially why I did the paper that I'll send to you. And it's like I went through like my whole Dutch Bros list, which I love every single person at my stand, and I think we're in like a great place right now. And so I think that like just like identifying like where people like have their certain abilities, like some people are more introverted, which can go like into the more introverted customers, and I think a lot of the regulars who are that, they like find a lot of like personal experience through the more introverted customers. Whereas like someone who's like super excited, I love like when people are excited. And I think people like if they have like such a good day, like I just like think it's like the best thing ever. And so I don't know, just like finding like the perfect person for the job, and it's just like everyone like meshes so well together that it's like they are go through like such a distinct process to find someone who's like good in the role and the stand. And so they'll like put you in the stand that like fits you perfectly. And so I think it was just cool like seeing that, because like you have like striving talents, thinking talents, and like relating talents. And so like you have your own combination within the three, and like they explain like why and how and like just who you are. And so essentially like people sometimes look at me and see that I'm like kind of intimidating, but like I come with a lot of confidence and a lot of just like excitement and like a lot of joy. And so like I put a lot of that into what I do, and people don't really like that a lot, but like that's not a bad thing. It's just some people just have it come off as a different way. And so essentially me being confident, like that is like, I would say that's like a talent of mine, because like I just like do it so naturally. And so essentially like not many people are as confident. And so just like it really just like explains like who I am and like how I can do things. And so I think it was just really cool to see like how you have that, and like each person is their own, like I've mentioned. But I also wrote the note on like, it says if they lack these talents, all the skills and knowledge they have will just be acquired of like a little bit of help, and their performance will suffer. So essentially like if you hire a person for this role and then try to like teach them it, like yes, they can perform and like do those things, but if they like don't have talent and they won't enjoy it and they don't like have happiness through it, like their performance is not going to be good. It's just going to suffer. And so like I wrote on like you can teach it, but if they don't have the talent, they won't succeed. And so essentially like you can take that also back to like the relationship example. Like I said, like I can teach someone faith, I can teach someone who Jesus is, and I can like teach them this, but like if they aren't finding joy or happiness and they don't have like, I mean, it's not a talent, but like essentially to like have a relationship with Jesus, like I'm not going to change the person just to fit like who I want them to be. Like that's not how it works. And so I think it was just cool to like see this. And then I really liked how they talked about drive, because I have a lot of drive, and I just like when I don't see it in people, it's really frustrating for me. And so I've been trying to like learn that like some people just don't have drive, and so like it says like its person's drive is not changeable, and his drives are in fact the striving talents. And so like what you're passionate about and what you love is like essentially what you like your drive. And so essentially each person has their own drive, and my drive is like I love working and I think it's so fun, I love doing things, I love keeping busy. And I was like, so why don't, like I told my sister, I was like, why don't you just work, like you're not doing anything? And she's been multiple times, she's like, well, I just don't want to. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? And like it's just like I have to know that she's her own person and I'm my own person, and that like just because we're different doesn't mean that we're less of a person. And so that's really been like, it's not a challenge, but I think it's just been like hard to learn. And so then it like then goes in saying like you better select for your talent, because if a person doesn't feel this burning fire, you cannot light it for him. And so like I don't know, like if they don't want to work, like I said, like I can't like light my sister's fire and be like, yes, you need to work, like you're just gonna love it so much. Like she doesn't have the same drive as I do. And so like if I want that person, like if I want someone else who like has the drive to work, like why would I select my sister? Like I wouldn't. Like she's not the perfect person for that. And so like just like knowing who you are and like who people are around you, I think it's crazy. And just like talents are like rare, and I think that it's really cool. Like I mean, they're not like rare, but like each person's, because one of the myths is saying that it's rare, but it's not rare, but it's rare to you. And so like every single person in the world has talents, but like you just have to know what talent like you're looking for. And so I just think that like the difference between like the roles and the talents like really just like come down to like what you want and who you want to like fulfill that role. And so I think that's really cool. I'm trying to think of what then the like how managers end up finding talent is like your recurring behaviors, like they said, and it's like your essence, and just like makes you you, and like you are like a combination of your whole entire of talents. And so like I don't like, essentially when you're hiring someone for their talents, you're not like hiring them for like looks, like a model. Like you can, but like essentially you can be like super stunning but like horrible at modeling. I don't know, like if you don't have the personality and the talent like to do what like you're put in the position to do, like it's never gonna be your best, and it's never gonna like fulfill what the job like has to offer you. And so like at the very end it kind of just said like learn the whys, the hows, and like who's of like your best like employees. So like essentially if I'm a manager and I'm like losing someone, say like me, and then I'm like, okay, well I still need someone like me to like fill this position, I would look for someone like who has confidence, who has drive, who has like a lot of energy. Like if I really need that person, like I would look for that person. Like if I need someone who's more introverted but also gets along with everyone, like I would look for someone like that. And I just think that it's cool to like put in perspective like how much like looking for someone is like looking based off their talents rather than like not like who they are, because talents are who they are, but like what they look like. And I think that was a cool like confidence booster of a chapter, because like it's really cool to like look at and see like what's around you.